A few weeks before my 8th birthday, my parents told me they were buying me a guitar, and I got to decide which guitar I was getting. I was super excited. I had been playing guitar for roughly 4 years at this point, and had gone to an okay level, but my parents thought it was a good time for me to get a new guitar, and I wasn't going to turn them down. We went to Mother's Music and I got to look at and try out a lot of different guitars. Eventually I found two guitars that I liked. One was an Ibanez ARX 140 and the other, while I'm not 100% sure, I'm pretty confident it was a Samick Telecaster style guitar. Now I really loved that mystery Telecaster. It reminded me of the guitar Rick Parfitt from Status Quo played on their 1990 Network concert that my dad had on DVD. I loved that Tele he was playing in the video, and I thought Rick was the epitome of cool, and still do. But my dreams of owning a Telecaster came to a screeching halt when the Mother's Music employee told my parents and I the following sentence: "Telecasters are for country, not rock." Now obviously I was pretty bummed about this. One, because I hated country music. And two, and more importantly, I really loved that Telecaster. I just loved how it looked and I loved how it felt. I did like the Ibanez a lot, but that Telecaster, as I said earlier, I felt I had a connection to it. But at the time, I was only 7 years old and I didn't know much about guitar at all. And my parents didn't know much about guitar either. So we blindly trusted this man and we decided to get the Ibanez instead of the Samick. The Ibanez served me well for quite a few years. I never really loved the guitar, but it was still a good guitar for me. But I always had a case of what if. What if I had gotten that Telecaster instead? What would have been different on my timeline? As I got older, I started to realize that just maybe that Mother's Music employee didn't tell me the full truth of the Telecaster. See, when I would look through my guitar books, I would see a ton of guitarists that I recognized who were not country musicians at all, playing Telecasters. I'd see people like Jimmy Page, Keith Richards, Johnny Marr. I knew all these artists' music and I knew it wasn't country, so I was a little bit suspicious. Then when I was around 12 or 13 years old, I remember watching a Rob Chapman video where either him or Rabia Masad talk about how the Telecaster works great for rock and heavy metal music. From that moment on, I knew I wanted to get a Telecaster eventually. And on my 16th birthday, I finally got one. I still vividly remember buying my first Telecaster. It was a 2016 Fender Mexican Standard one. I was at Long McQuaid with my dad and I had played it for about an hour. And my dad asked me, "So are you gonna buy it?" And I was like, I guess. I still wasn't fully sold on the Telecaster, even years after what the Mother's Music employee told me. But I took a gamble and bought the guitar and I really grew to love it. Eventually I sold that Telecaster and I went on the quest to find the perfect Telecaster, which for me I found, and it's this 1990s Fender crafted in Japan Jerry Donahue Telecaster. I love this guitar so much, it's my pride and joy. It's one of my favorite guitars I've ever played. So today I'm going to talk about how the Telecaster became so associated with country music and why it works great for that genre, but also why it works great for such a wide variety of genres. And then afterwards I'm going to talk about why I don't like associating a guitar with a particular genre. It should be a fun video and I really hope you enjoy it. But first, welcome. My name's Cole, but you can call me Cole G. I love telling stories through music. If that interests you, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a lot. But alright, let's get into this video. So let's address why Telecasters are so linked to country music. In order to do so, we gotta go back to the 1950s. The mid-1950s was when the Telecaster really first started to appear in country music. Now I combed through internet forums, articles, videos, trying to find who was the first country guitarist to use the Telecaster, and honestly, I got different answers everywhere. The two names that kept coming up were Jimmy Bryant, who started using a Telecaster in the early 1950s, and Luther Perkins, who was Johnny Cash's guitarist. But those are just two of the earliest adopters. There's other people like James Burton, Scotty Moore, and so many others also started using Telecasters in the 50s. Unfortunately, because we're talking about the 1950s, it's really hard to find good performance clips, let alone interviews, of guitarists talking about why they use the Telecaster, or even just playing the Telecaster. And sadly, a lot of these really formative country guitarists are no longer with us. However, I was lucky to find one clip of James Burton talking about why he loved the Telecaster. Check it out.
Why did you pick a Telecaster?
Well, for one thing, I love the looks of it, and when I played it, I was sold. You know, the body is so well balanced, and the neck, the sound. You know, the old Tellies had a lot of highs. You know, very bright, but there's a way you could control it, tone it down, and you know, only a 3-way switch.
Yeah.
I just loved the way the guitar played, and it had a great bite. You know, when you crank it up, man, and it would just pop out there, just amazing.
So this brings us back to why Tellys are so popular in country music. And from what I could tell, it's that Telly twang. A Telecaster in bridge position plugged into an edge of breakup Fender amp or a Vox AC30 is just that country sound. That sound works really great for country music. Now, I'm not a huge country guy. I don't listen to too much country music still. I don't hate it like I used to, but it's just not my favorite. But from what I can tell from having listened to a decent amount of country is that those tones just really work well for that genre. You don't really hear too much crazy overdriven guitar. You usually hear clean guitar to edge of breakup guitar to a little bit pushed edge of breakup guitar. And the Telly just works great with that because you get such clarity with the bridge and it just works really well. It's punchy, it's in your face in a really nice way, it's obnoxious in a really nice way as well. It just works great for the genre. Plus, the Telecaster has long been described as a working musician's instrument, or a slab of wood with strings on it. It's a reliable instrument and it works really well. Plus, with Telecasters, you can mod them and put B-benders on them, which basically makes them into a makeshift pedal steel guitar, which is a really common instrument in country music as well. Since I've spent so much time talking about why Telecasters work great for country music, I figured I'd record a little bit of a sound demo of just me playing my Telecaster and playing some makeshift country licks. I recorded this sound with Line 6 Helix native, and I'm using a Vox AC30 and a Mesa Boogie Lone Star, which is similar to a Fender but not exactly. Check it out. So it's been established for over half a century that Tellys work great for country music, but I think calling a Telecaster a country guitar is doing a disservice to the Telecaster. Let me explain. Even though Tellys are so linked to country music, so many guitarists of different genres use Telecasters. Jazz guitarists such as Bill Frisell, Julian Lange, and Mike Stern have utilized the Telecaster's neck pickup for very smooth and articulate sounds. Punk and rock guitarists such as Graham Coxon from Blur, Steve Slaldowski from Pup, and Wilco Johnson from Dr. Feelgood have utilized various different settings with the Telecaster to cut through in a mix. And math rock and Midwest emo artists such as Toe, Yvette Young, American Football have all utilized Telecaster style guitars to get their middle position signature twinkly sound. All of these guitarists and countless others that I didn't mention use the Telecaster because they're so versatile. That's why I've been using one for 10 years. It can cover so much range. For me, that Telly twang that's so synonymous with country music works great for rock music. In fact, I used my Jerry Donahue Telecaster on all the guitar solos on the upcoming Daryl Saves Lives EP that's coming out next year. I just loved how the Telly cut through in the mix, especially in some of our songs that are instrumentally pretty dense and that it's hard to cut through, I needed something bright with punch and twang, and the Telecaster was the perfect guitar for it. Plus, I used the guitar for some other songs on the EP using the neck position because I really love how smooth that sound is. Plus, on my Jerry Donahue Telecaster, there's a neck position mode that deactivates the tone pot, and it's a really bright neck position that just cuts through so well. Speaking of neck position, when I was in university studying music, I used my Telecaster a ton because it was so versatile and it worked great with jazz music, funk music, soul music, or honestly anything that I was going to throw at it. It just worked great and was a workhorse. Telecasters may be one of the few guitars where I love each position equally. I think they all sound good and have such a really unique purpose. Now I'm sure some of you have your particular favorite positions with the Telecaster, so let me know in the comments down below as I'd love to hear about them. So I've spent a little while talking about how versatile the Telecaster is, so I thought I would put it to the test. I've written 2 mini songs here in completely polar opposite genres that I think really demonstrate how well the Telecaster can handle pretty much anything. Check it out. So I've established Telecasters aren't just for country music, through sound examples, player examples, you name it. And I'm sure the majority of you knew that going into this video. So you're probably wondering, why did I make this? Well, honestly, it's for people who aren't well versed in the guitar world and who are maybe just starting out and don't know where to start and want to buy a new guitar and are seeing stuff online that tells them that you need this guitar for this genre. It's for those people who don't know what to do. I feel I have a fairly unique perspective on this. I've taught guitar for over half a decade and taught tons and tons of different students over the years. And throughout the years, I've heard similar stories from students talking about wanting to buy a piece of gear, but they saw somewhere online or a friend told them, you shouldn't buy this piece of gear because it's for X genre or Y genre. So they don't end up buying the gear they actually want, and then they're kind of bummed with what they end up getting. In fact, one of my former students wanted to buy a Telecaster, and the Long and McQuaid employee they talked to said, Tellies are for country, not rock as well. The truth of the matter is that you can pretty much get any guitar to work for you, but you have to put a little bit of effort into fixing your tone, changing some knobs, that kind of stuff. I guarantee you can find clips of artists who play heavier music using Strats, Telecasters, Jazz Masters, those kinds of guitars, and I can guarantee that you can find artists who play blues, soul, those kinds of music, playing more metal style guitars like Flying V's or Explorers. To me, one of the coolest parts about guitar and music in general is finding your own identity through your instruments. Whether it's a Flying V, a headless guitar, a Strat, who cares? If you can connect with it, that's really what matters at the end of the day. and writing music and playing music. And if you have the passion and the drive, and your guitar maybe doesn't do the exact sound that you're looking for it to do, you're gonna make it work. You're gonna change the settings, you're gonna change pickups on it, you're gonna make it work for you. At the end of the day, I just want everyone to play more music, write more music, perform more music, just find happiness in music. It doesn't matter what you're playing, as long as you're having fun doing it and enjoying it, that's really what matters. Gear is so inconsequential in the grander scheme of life. If you like playing metal on a Tele or like playing blues on a Flying V, do what you gotta do. Embrace it, rock it, be you. But that's all I got for today. Now I want to hear from you though. Who are your favorite Tele guitarists? Do you like the Telecaster? Do you hate it? Do you think it's only for country? Let me know in the comments down below and let's have a discussion. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. But anyways, thanks again for watching. My name's Kolji, and I'll see you in the next one.